Again, I'm still here on the project, building capacity around my mouth, but I got something to back it up. What do you think? Let's discuss it. This is Samson to Liberian Public Radio. But I want to bring your attention to a show that I'm going to be having tonight. It's going to be very interesting. I'm encouraging all of you, those of you that are listening to this video, to tune in tonight, because perhaps this might be some of the reason why we have all of the mess that is going on in our own country. Because you have to listen to these things. These things, the trouble we've been having in Liberia didn't start overnight. These are things that's been happening from time to time. There are those who came before us, past generation, failed to recognize these things, and will continue to repeat them. And because we ourselves have not yet able to recognize and see if these things can be rectified, so that this country, beautiful country of ours, can be built just by our hands as Liberian. It doesn't matter who you are at this point. Concord country, it doesn't even exist anymore. We're all one another. We're all one country, one people. But if we do not understand why these things are happening to us, we're most likely not going to be able to find solution. So I ask you tonight to join me.
Yet, how does one begin to help people who swim on their own flooded streets to voting booths to vote incompetent criminals back into office?
Yes, that is a big question we all have to answer. How do you help people who will go to the voting booth swimming in their own flooded streets just to vote people in offices who are incompetent? And those incompetent people that are being voted in offices will also appoint people who are also incompetent. So this is like a big deal. How do we help our brothers and sisters to make sure that their voting rights are utilized effectively? They have the voting cards. They must be told how important their voting cards are to all of us. And so I'm saying, those of us that have this platform, this is not time for hate. You don't come into this because you hate. You must do all you can to educate the voters themselves, how important their voting cards are. Because of their vote, our leaders be able to do what is right for our people. Join me this evening as I try to explore this particular question, and many more that will be coming. Join me this evening at 8 Eastern Time, 5 Pacific, where we will take on this question and be able to see how much we can go. With your help, we, the Liberian people, will be able to educate our brothers and sisters that have the right to vote whoever they want, but they must do so with responsibility. This is Samson Toll, Liberian Public Radio. Thank you very much.
C'est autiste encore une autre fidèle qui l'Amérique n'a pas loupé nous. Quand il y a SIZI, il y a quoi qui j'ai loupé presse. L'Amérique n'a pas loupé. T'as mon bien de moi avec moi en ce moment. On va battre au moins néo. Mon temps dit est à mon mouillé. On s'est battu pour moi dit quoi. Avec la loupé yo.
Doing anything that people get amended, and there will be from 2005 to date. We're all doing anything. I've done something. Trust me. I'll be re-elected. You understand? So you don't need to fight. You don't need to destroy your country. You don't need to even condemn your country. You have to be inspired, peacefully, and then convince the people, persuade people. Politics is about persuasion, and it's about what you have done for your people. I have done so much that I don't need pay for. You know why I don't need pay for? Because Liberians love me and they promoted me when I was on a soccer page. You understand? And they were proud to be Liberian when I was on a soccer page. And I've done my best for my country. I'm a former peace ambassador. It doesn't matter what people say. I'm on record.
Yao, abela loke yo, mi vito jobai, mi vito inamba, artiste mo pe yo. Manager Gigi, ouais peut jamais forcer ou, si tu connais tu connais. L'animateur Choco Noska Yassen de Toyebli, l'homme a tout fait pour mi vito, aniche les vieux.
Henry, I can tell you the problem of this country with respect to prices, with respect to health, with respect to education, and largely tied to roads. There are no roads. You don't see opportunities where they should be when you don't have roads. From up to 173 years, we only have one road. How do you know what is happening in Bapolu when you don't have roads? You don't go there. The prices of goods, commodities in the market are high because to get them to where they are needed. So there's no way you can, when I talk about road, I'm not talking about putting road on the sidewalk in Monrovia, $50,000 road and make it $3 million. We're talking about roads that will open up the country. We're talking about roads that will open up opportunities, roads that will get businesses going, and dependency reduced because people believe their goods and commodities can get to the market. That's what we're talking about.
But we'll prosecute and will confiscate assets that people steal and acquire by illicit means. I often say that in Liberia, when people get caught, they send their wife, they send their children, they send their relatives, whatever, to come and beg. I'm saying the Liberian people, don't come and beg. You know, don't come and tell me, oh, stand to help you get elected. He talk nice about you on the radio station. Now he's stealing, so forgive him. Stanley should have known when he was stealing that we're going to punish him. So there's going to be consequences. That's the first thing. Then we have to make sure we're paying people a living wage. So we did the arithmetic, we did the math in 2017 that when you look at policeman's salary or healthcare worker's salary or teacher's salary, by the middle of the month, the money finished. By the time they pay rent, they buy food, they pay the children to eat, and of course, they're not going to starve, right? So the policeman will pull you over, the teacher will accept bribe to change grades.
Good evening, folks. Samson told LeBron Papa Radio. I'm all ready again tonight. Let me dapper myself out correctly. I want to welcome all of you again tonight. Please share this video as much as possible. If you have not seen or heard young man who was so young, but his wisdom beyond his age, share this video. If you don't believe me, just share this video. Listen to the first 10 minutes of our conversation tonight. This young man, I admire him so much. There's no question asked. Because the reason, I'll explain the reason later on, but I just love to have conversation with him every night if I can. And there's another person in the community who I really admire as well, but he's much older. So you can say when he's speaking, you can say, well, he's older because of his age. He have obtained that type of wisdom. But in this person, my guest tonight, this is GOYAH, is a little bit different. But we'll get into that. Safety, Lord Jesus, we want to thank you again this evening for bringing us together. Because of you, we are here. My Lord, you know the situation back home in our own country, the Republic of Liberia. We ask you to guide that country, to guide the electoral process itself. Bless our leaders of the Republic of Liberia. Bless the opposition leaders of the Republic of Liberia. Make them to understand that election, my Lord, it is about ideas. Please help us guide us as we go through this process. My Lord, we put the country of Liberia in your hands. We put the people of Liberia in your hands. We ask you to continue to bless all of us. We ask to bless the host country, the United States of America. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay. All right, folks. Samson told LeBron Public Radio. If you are tuning in tonight on this program, I have a doozy for you. You know, some of us really do observe. We come out here, I talk tabata at night. Every night I run my mouth, but I observe and I take things into consideration, the conversation. And this young man that I'm going to be bringing on now, very intelligent, of course. I don't even have to say that. You will listen and you will hear. So let me then bring in SIZI GOYAH, who is going to be my guest, one-on-one conversation. He's a member of LPR family. There's no question asked. And so you say, oh, you're just promoting your own. Of course. If I promote myself, well, I will promote. I'm going to promote you. I know you said, yeah, big. No. I don't want you to run away from it tonight. Stay. But if somebody is doing something good in a community, and you bring those good things out, it encourages other young people to follow suit, and that's all that I ask. Let me bring in SIZI GOYAH, who's going to be joining me here. Director, good evening to you, sir.
You get trouble, I swear. How you doing, Pato?
Thank you for joining us tonight. Well, tonight's program is a little bit different from the usual. I'm here trying to wrestle idea from objective, subjective program, but tonight is a little bit different. The intent of me asking you to join me here tonight is because you continue to do things that I think will be inspirational to the community. As young as you are, because when I was about your age, you won't catch me in any kind of thing. I'm one of those, true story. My little brother paid my school fee to come to America. I came here, collected my school fee from the university, bought my car, and I was riding all over this place playing football. So, and if I see you young people doing things that I should have done a long time ago, and of course I'm jealous, but something I just admire you guys completely. And I want to thank you for joining me tonight. Let me don't do it that way. Could you just briefly, people know who you are, just briefly introduce yourself once again, please, and then I can go into my tabata.
Well, let me first apologize. My voice is a little bit hoarse. I've been doing teacher professional development, so my wife decided that she made a concoction of ginger, lime, anything she can find. Somebody told her peppermint candy, so I'll be drinking that to help my voice. So I apologize if I sound a little hoarse. But my name is SIZI GOYAH. A lot of you know me. I'm on the platform here. It's really hard to introduce yourself without sounding like you're trying to toot your own horn. But I'm a math teacher. I'm a parent. I'm a husband, and I like to believe that I'm a community activist. I think that's the best intro I can give of myself.
Thank you. I will put the rest of it on there. You are a director. And let me make sure I get this here correctly. I don't want to come across here as somebody being jealous, which I say I am. You are the director K-12 mathematics of the Minneapolis Public School. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
At this young age. Let's go ahead. Let's get into that a little bit. You told us already. You're married, have kids. Where you come from?
Well, I'm from Lofa County.
Lofa County.
I am from deep down Zaza District. Zolowo Town, Lofa County. Yeah.
And folks, I've been on this show here even before Sissy decided to be. I've been telling you almost 19 weeks. The both people we got, as far as I'm concerned, my perspective, that number one for me, that Kema County, Lofa County, Nima County, then we go with Bond. That's what I think. I don't know what do you guys think. Well, then you say, well, what grant you there? We stay coming. We'll be here. We'll be here there one by one. And the reason, on a very serious note, the reason I'm saying this is, I grew up in the barracks in the 70s. I grew up in the barracks. Well, I mean, growing up from 10-year-old going up in the barracks. But the kids that I play football with, the kids that I play the bread, they call it bread, the one you put your finger into the
yeah, you do that blade thing, yep.
And if somebody ain't getting you, eat your bar. Most of the kids that I played with at that time were going to, they had an elementary school, they call it a central precinct, right opposite central precinct there. Most of the kids were going to school at that time. I was going to GWGC. So I GWGC / Roxas Cinema, because if I was supposed to go to school, I call school and go to Roxas Cinema. So I was attending GWGC, but according to the knowledge of my parents, I was attending GWGC but / Roxas Cinema. But the point I want to make here is there was two brothers. I'm not going to call their name now. One of them were attending LU. The other one was going to school with, I don't want to call these people names because most of them are famous now in Liberia. But the group of them were going to the precinct compound elementary school. But the point is, the one that goes to LU, he was playing football. We are great then. He was playing football.
The great teacher are great.
Yeah, teacher are great. Yeah. He was playing football. Do you know somebody Maya used to be a goalkeeper? He started as that time. I saw David Mobile myself in the barracks. But the point here, this young man, his mother was selling in the back Baker market, just like my mom. And the kid, the sister, the brother, they were both at LU. only the younger brother was going to prison school. And these kids, we used to believe that Lofa children got book medicine. Because when the school closed, the children, their grades are always higher. So, Sister, let me ask you, you got book medicine?
I will be selling that in the 7-Eleven right now so people can buy it right next to their vitamin water.
My goodness. No, on a very serious note. Thank you. So, reason I'm bringing all of these up, you have no sibling or uncles, because we Liberia, most of the time when we get these high positions in Liberia, that is, we have relatives who will push the line for us in your situation strictly based on the merit. And so I'd like to really, really go into it here. They say here, and this is your position on a general supervision plan, executive, and direct all aspects of district K through 12 mathematics programming, including curriculum, instruction, assessment, content, integration, and professional development to support all schools. By the way, with this, you being a director here, what is your real job?
So
besides you're driving in the morning, going there and say, "Oh yeah, well, you know, what is your job?"
So for a better grounding, I see my little brother is here. Let me pay homage to him. Sumewo Pew Miller. He's my little brother from mom. He's about, I think, 4th down from me, from mom. So I'm going to pay him respect. I see him on here. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to lay a groundwork, if you allow me, and then I'll answer.
Yeah, please.
I am the first child of teen parents. My dad was a teenager. My mom was a teenager when they had me. Back then, it was not fashionable for women to be sent to school. And so my mom started school very late, very, very late. I think the story she told me was she was in it, I think, 2nd or 3rd grade when she became pregnant.
Wow.
My dad, my grandfather was a chief. I had about 11 wives and 30 plus children. And so my dad happened to be amongst those 30 plus children. And so sending people to school was not a priority. Working on the farm was the priority. And so when he managed to finally get to school, my dad started kindergarten at the age of 12. And there were American Peace Corps that helped him out. And so when my mom became impregnated, my dad was a teenager, I think in 4th grade or 5th grade.
Wow.
And my mom got married to a teacher, a public school teacher, the late Mr. Galakba Miller, or peace be to his ashes. And that's where I got some of my passion for public school teachers and public school teaching. And I never lived with my mom and my dad together because they were young. In fact, when my mom gave birth to me, it took 2 years for my dad to afford transportation to come from Clay in Birmingham. He was on a mission there. He was on Clay learning trade. It took him 2 years to get money together to come and see me. And when I was born, my mom could not afford the fees to pay to the hospital, current hospital in Zaza. The practice back then was if you owe the hospital, they take you off the bed and put you on the ground. And you stay on the ground until you can pay.
Wow.
And so a philanthropist had to pay for my mom and I to be released. And my mom went on and had 7 more kids. And so I'm the eldest of 8 children. And so when you talk about what you did with your student loan, I came to this country, I took student loans to pay my brothers and sisters' tuitions in Liberia. So I owe student loan, not because of my own self, but because I paid all for tuition. And I wanted to ground there because quite often when we talk in these spaces, people think we were born with silver spoons in our mouths. My dad went to night school. He ended up at Basel High and worked for Lamco. And he went to night school until he became an electrical engineer, graduated from LU. Why my mom never went back to school? She stayed at 3rd grade forever. And she was one of the smartest business women I've ever known. And so having said that, that is who I am. And that is why I do so well in public schools here in America because I know what it means to be hungry. I know what it means to go home and got siblings that you got to deal with. I know what it means to have a mother who cannot help you with your homework. I know what it means to not grow up in a family that's together. I grew up in broken families. I never lived with my biological mother and dad in the same room, in the same space. I had community people take care of me. I got so many mothers because I was a community child. So back to your question, as the director of mathematics, kindergarten through 12th grade, Minneapolis public schools, over 90 schools if you count all of the online schools and the alternative schools. My work, like you read, is first to build capacity. So I build capacity in my staff, people that directly report to me, and I build capacity in all of the math teachers in the district, and build capacity with principals as building leaders. And then my work also is to ensure that we have a curriculum that is expansive and adaptive and inclusive of all of the many cultures and many languages and many identities we have in Minneapolis. By the way, Minneapolis is the largest city in the state of Minnesota. And Minneapolis Public School is the third largest school district in the state of Minnesota. We have a little bit over 80 plus schools that I oversee mathematically. And so I build capacity, and then I also hold people accountable. And this year, we are piloting curriculums through all of our 612 schools. We just adopted a curriculum through our kindergarten through 5th grade school. So K5, we have a curriculum that we're pushing, and I'm doing professional developments and all of the other pieces. And so when you ask me, what do? Is I build capacity for educators. And I build equity for neutral country students and students that were born here. And I also ensure that holistically, the mathematics education that is delivered to all of our children in Minneapolis public schools, A, they are holistic, B, they are culturally affirming, C, they are relevant to their lived experiences. So pretty much connecting the context of their lives to the content, which is mathematics.
Yeah. But I don't know anything on the thing. I got to call people to help me. No, on a very serious. Thank you very much. Say thank you very much. The reason I said, and the reason why I asked you this election time, all other platform concentrating on election and what I do. But I thought for me it's very important with all the basic people running around with the election that people like you who have sacrificed to put yourself and with the help of God and your family to put yourself in a position where you will be helpful to other folks, whether be here or even back home. And I thought that I'd try to have you here for us to have this conversation. Now, math, I'm not very good at math. I'm an engineer, but I just did math.
How you engineer saying not good at math?
I just did math to get my engineering business going. That's it. I'll go over other stuff. Very funny thing, speaking about math, we had a Polish professor, and it got his math was just too much. He could use math to stretch the steel. He could use math to put points on the steel to be able to see when you put load on the steel based on the calculation or the type of load you put in, how the load spread. And then we wrote a program. You can see the green, the blue, all that. But that's not compared to what you guys do over there. But the point here is, math is people afraid of math. How did you find yourself gravitating towards a subject that many people here, even here in the United States, are afraid of?
Well, and that is one of my life lifelong passion is to ignite the same love I have for this subject in people. And I think one of the reasons why folks have a touchy relationship with math is sometimes because of the person that's delivering the content and the way the content is delivered. If you have somebody who does not teach to the learning styles of all of the students in the room, then you kind of ostracize some of the students from the learning process. And if you are learning from somebody who has not been trained in the way to accept their limitations, because I don't know all math, but I guarantee you this, in my classroom, kids are going to have fun doing math. And I'm going to find a way to connect your interest to the subject. So real quick, I started watching wrestling, American wrestling, WWE, fanatically about 9 years ago. And what got me into that was I had a student in my class at the time I was teaching 7th grade. This kid hated math. Like he would just tell you, math doesn't apply. It's stupid. Sorry for the language. And he didn't want to do it. But then I realized this kid is into wrestling. So I went home and watched wrestling one day. And these are people, they're wrestling in a square. And so I went back to school and said, yo, you like John Cena? He said, yeah. I said, you know, when he stands on the ring, one side of the ring, and he throws himself in the middle to hit Eddie Guerrero, the late Eddie Guerrero. He's traveling down the diagonal.
Right.
He's traveling down the hypotenuse. If you divide that, because a triangle is a half of a rectangle, which is also a square.
Right.
And so when we started to teach a square plus b square equals to c square, and I told this kid about that, he got connected.
Mm-hmm.
He started to see the mathematics in what he loved. And that was 9 years ago, and I'm still stuck on WWE. And even when I listen to music, our kids here are into popular music. There is a rapper that will go, started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here. And I told my students that was a linear equation.
Mm-hmm.
Rise over run. Started from the bottom, now you're there. And even when Beyonce talks about to the left, everything you own in the box to the left, well, on the number line, anything to the left is less than you.
Mm-hmm.
So she's telling this dude, put your stuff to the left because Jay-Z is coming, he's greater than you. But when you have those interactions with students and you start to lay out their lived experiences, their context, and connect it to the content. I remember my first time teaching algebra in a high school. And I started a conversation with, do you know where algebra comes from? It comes from the madrasa. The madrasa are Islamic schools.
Mm-hmm.
Islam gave us algebra.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine having students in my room who were sitting there with a hijab, and you could see this, you could feel the smile on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
To understand that their ancestors had given this world way more than what this world think they've given. And so for me, when you talk about why I love math that people run from, is my intent is to bring people back and to understand that there is nothing you can do. There is no solution you can provide to anything in this world that is not based on the fundamental understanding of mathematics. Even lawyers, when they argue cases, you their logic, that's all they're doing.
I ran away from it. I will tell you the story later.
That is all they're doing. When police departments put up stuff that talks about, somebody did a robbery and they look this way, you're looking at they look at patterns to solve cases. And mathematics is all about patterns. And so my short of the long answer to you is my lifelong work. I am an electrical engineer. You know that.
Yes.
I
we'll go into that. How
engineering and mathematics. But I love the mathematics because it is beautiful. It allows for the beauty and the history of everybody to be acknowledged. And everything you love to do in this world. I hope you saw my math poem I put up a few days. Everything in mathematics is lovely.
Well, that's what you said. Believe me from total. But anyway, no. Seriously, that's it's a good point you're making. That I hope kids that are going to school and try to run away from math. For me, math was not something. Yeah, I wasn't good at it, but I wasn't afraid of it either because I thought I would come from way too time. I can't the way you do to me. You know what I mean? That I kind of attitude I had in school. So the brother math that we go through it. Whatever curve area under the curve calculation. Okay, bring it on. Whatever I can get you, I'll get you. But Sissy, you talk about you being an electrical engineer here, and how did you come from there to here? Yeah, because I'm looking at money wise now. My electrical engineer is telling me, oh, look how much money. And then you're into teaching. Yeah, the parent. How come my son got a kind of grade? What happened? That kind of electrical engineering. Okay, let's see the current. What will come in all by yourself, and here you are. You're in a public sphere. How did you get from there to there, from math over to this position?
So my dad is not going to like this, but I'm going to put it out here. I hate electrical engineering. Like, I can't stand it. My dad's an electrical engineer. I did electrical engineering because when I came to America, immigrant parents, we like to pick the the career of our children. And so when I first got here and went to Texas, actually, I went to community college. If I pull my transcript for community college, it shows I was majoring electrical engineering, I was majoring computer science, I was majoring nursing, and what was the other one? Because one of my uncles at the time, it was the boom of the computer age, and it was in dollars, and you had Dell computers.
Right.
Then I had to go do computer science. My dad's wife at the time was a nurse, and like Brentwood in the nursing,
right.
I had to go do nursing. And my dad was an electrical engineer. I had to be an electrical engineer. So at the community college, those were my majors. And then when I left and went to Texas Tech at the university, I double major from the beginning, electrical engineering to make my dad happy, and computer science for my uncle. I did not like nursing, so I had to have a conversation with my stepmom and say, I'm not going to do nursing. I don't have the appetite for nursing. And I did all of my I got up to junior level. I got up to junior level in college, and by that time I had added mathematics. So I was doing computer science, mathematics, and electrical engineering. My computer science professor and myself had a big argument. He was the chairman of the department within. So I figured this is going to be toxic. I don't want to do it anyway. And so I dropped computer science as a junior student in college. And so I ended up majoring both electrical engineering and mathematics. Mathematics because I love it. Electrical engineering because my dad loves it. And I wanted to pay him homage for bringing him into this country. But then when I graduated, I worked as an engineer. It paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let me frame this conversation a little bit more. And then you'll understand why I left engineering for the classroom. When I came to the United States, I came with my little sister. We came to Texas. Immediately when I graduated high school in Liberia, I was teaching already at Bishop Maria Institute. I was teaching math. Graduated high school right away. I was teaching 9th grade.
Maria family right here in Sacramento.
Yep, at BMI. In fact, I was the chair of the sport director when we won triple championship. Okay, when we had triple championship, I was the director of sports. So the other of them know me. And so, but when we came to the United States, my little sister, who was in 3rd grade in Liberia, we came to Texas, she got put in 8th grade because of her age.
Right.
That created a big problem for her.
Mm-hmm.
And in the educational system in America does not have anything to help fill that void.
Right.
And so what they did was to diagnose her with learning disability.
Mm-hmm. And that's the only way they could be able to.
That's the only excuse we have to not, because they didn't know how to help fix the problem they had created. And so my little sister had to go through navigating this complex system, this new system, with a stigma and a badge attached to her that she had learning disability. And so for a long time, both my dad and I would tag team to tutor her when she come from school, because they would send her to the enrichment program. But the enrichment program is still teaching 8th grade stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I didn't understand it. I don't care how many times you say I don't understand it, because you have not closed that gap that you created. Fast forward, my sister right now is 3 months away from getting her doctorate in nursing. So we know she didn't have a learning disability, and no disrespect to people who are genuinely having learning disabilities willing to work with.
Right.
And so when I moved to Minnesota, started to work, started to see the same thing happening with students of color, immigrant students. They take their homework home, their parents help them, they take it back to school because the teacher does not understand the underlying fundamental mathematical idea. They say, oh, I think you to do it this way, not this other way, don't do it that way, is wrong. And you create a disconnect between that child and their parent. And the child goes back home and say, don't bring your African math to me, don't bring the other country math to me, the other kind of math we're doing.
I thought I was the only one that had that problem here. So
yes.
Yeah.
And so it starts to create rift in the family. And I will have to call some teachers and say, yo, this is the same mathematical ideas. They're just approaching it from the left. It started with 1 kid, 2 kids, 3, 4, 5. And all of a sudden, I am pissed. I am complaining. I'm arguing. And so one day, I'm driving, coming home, and I'm getting past the Lutheran University. And I go, this is it. This is it. I'm going back to school. I'm going back to school. I'm going to be a teacher. And so I went and registered at Lutheran University, left my high-paying job, and I was working while going through my teacher training program for the money grant. I used to do triangulation, trying to track down people who are stealing from people and theft and stuff. I did that until I got my degree. I got my license, and my first job was paying me $36,000 per year. I left a $60,000 job to get a $36,000 job per year. But what I would say is that one thing always rings through to me when folks talk about money. We all need money. My late grandfather used to always say, when I joke with him, I say, Yupa, people can say you're rich. I can't see nothing. He even get cola tree said. He said, people, when you are rich, it depends on how you're counting your riches. Are you counting it in human capital, or are you counting it in something that you lay down somewhere? And for him, having many people living with him being responsible for a lot of people's happiness, that was his riches. And so I remember that the material things don't determine your wealth and your worth. And so when I went through the struggle of living below what I thought I could, and people would laugh at me, when I decided to become a teacher, some of my friends would say, I mean, you think about look at you here with a heavy Liberian accent and go put you in front of children and go teach. The American people not put you in front of children and go teach. I said, well, I will try. And if they say no, I'll go back to engineering. Fast forward, here we are. I have not been denied. I have broken down so many doors. I've never taken no for an answer. And as you know, quite recently, I was one of 3 co-chairs to write the Minnesota Math standards. And so it has been a focused and a determined mind to say, we are going to raise the flag of Liberia in these rooms. We're going to talk about the 231, and we're going to come here representing LRB style because we know what our ancestors blessed us with. And so it's a little bit of like, I don't want to say arrogance, But it's that Liberian arrogance in me, knowing that LIB, we got this, and I'm not going to bury that. And anywhere you see me, I'm going to make you recognize that there's a Liberian in this room.
Right.
And we're going to have that conversation.
Intellectually.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Sisi, we appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit now about the job and what entails of this new job you had. You're no longer in a classroom. You are now a director of math for Minneapolis public school system, K to 12, responsible for impacting, responsible for improving whatever math curriculum they have. So let me ask you a few questions here. When you, y'all go sue me in total.
May your engineer now, but pay the people student loan.
I'm gonna pay people, but no. Before I go there, let me tell you a little bit. After all of my problem, when I went back like bro, by the way, and came back the second time, but then when I came back the second time, situation like bro was no longer the same. Things were really, really bad for me. I was right here. This way, I'll be dead. If I go this way, true story, if I go this way, I'll be alive. So I decided when I came back, I stopped almost everything. Everything you can think of young men will do. I stopped it, decided to concentrate. Of course, it was difficult. But we're here. We're here. So let me ask you this, not about me here. Let me ask you this. In your new job, that you are the director of the math program, what are some of the things that you are responsible to evaluate? Do you set standards? And if you set the standards, what are some of the objectives of those standards that you're going to set?
So first of all, the state of Minnesota sets the academic standards. And I just told you I was one of 3 co-chairs. I just authored the new 2022 math standards.
Right.
So if you have a baby right now in Minnesota, the math they learn until they graduate high school was co-authored by me. The sequence of how that will go and what is the minimum requirement. And so in Minneapolis public schools, what we are trying to do is to say, look, here are the standards. Here is what minimally we expect you to teach our students. That is the floor. We expect everybody to have equal access to the floor. Now you can build on it and go higher up, that's okay. But at minimum, every child should have access to that floor. And so now we are piloting curriculums. We're trying to get new curriculums that will speak to what we're trying to get to is curriculums that are anti-racist, especially in mathematics, and that center and validate all cultures. And so what I'm looking at right now is we got 5 curriculums we're piloting in our schools. And by next year, we will decide which one we're going to adopt district-wide. But I start to look at the scope and sequence, for example, because I want to ensure that the math that we are teaching in Minneapolis public schools, that it covers all necessary mathematical concepts and skills that are appropriate for grade levels, right? And then we build on prior knowledge. So you don't learn and we forget it. And what we're doing is we're trying to get something that will be what we call an anchor standard. So you start in kindergarten and it gets progressively more challenging as you move up. So the idea of fractions, for example, that you learn in kindergarten, when you get to 12th grade, we start to call them rational expressions. They stay fractions. They just get a little bit more intensive. And so we want to have that connection throughout so that it makes the conversation very easy vertically, so that a first grade teacher knows what a second grade teacher expects when the students show up and that they're doing their work. And the second grade teacher already know what the first grade teacher have been doing and what the third grade teachers require. So we are in vertical conversation. And that along the way, we are holding each other accountable because these are our scholars and we're accountable for them. We have to make sure that the curriculum we pick is aligned to state standard because by law, you have to teach the standards minimally. So you got to make sure it's aligned to state standard. The next thing is we start to look at the concept. You pay attention to just the mathematical progression of things. We want to make sure that we're introducing our students to having problem-solving skills. You talk about playing Blade. Blade is a probability problem-solving skill.
I just all those years I did it, but now that I'm an engineer,
it's chance. It's chance. It's probability. Imagine if your math teacher took you outside and said, let's go play Blade today, we're learning math, we're learning probability, we're learning chance in Liberia. Imagine children who love Blade, how excited they would be. You're connecting their context, their lived experiences to the content, the mathematics. Okay. And so you also want to, here's one thing we do very poorly in our country is differentiation. People learn differently. There are diverse learners. I remember when I was in elementary school, we would laugh at people and call their first grade, second grade, third grade boyo. And people that have failed repeatedly in the same class, we say they are dull or stupid. Never once trying to ask the question, why is this child failing multiple times? Have we looked at the way the teacher is delivering the content? Have we had a chance to grow this teacher so that he or she is able to teach to diverse learners? Right? You also have to look at assessment strategies. How are you assessing the content? How are you assessing for knowledge? I remember when I was in Catholic school, man, in Liberia, Mr. Thor, you go to school during exam time, they make you put all your packet outside. Then they put all the chairs outside. I was in Cathedral, so they will close the rows over there around our front street, and we put all the armchairs outside. And everybody sit down straight. You don't look left to right.
Yeah.
You have already created, you have induced and infused panic into an already stressed environment. And then you get an outcome and you want to take that to be a serious outcome. That outcome is flawed already. So how are you assessing for understanding? If, for example, a child lives in Jalatown and we are discussing probability, have you asked him what are the chances of catching Buka during rainy season time? Because that is that's a high probability to have a discussion about. Right. And that is linking their context to the content. Right? And our market woman do that thing every time we tell you say rain season down. I'm telling you, I keep in my word until dry season time, I go set it. They are looking at when market forces are at their peak. When do they maximize their profits? Yet we teach economics in high school and never talk about that.
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to look at that. You also want to be able to look at cross-curricular connections. What is the connection between math and economics? We talk about supply and demand curves and equilibrium. Well, that is just the solution to a system of equation. The supply and the demand, where they intersect, you have equilibrium of prices. But we teach these things as if they are mutually exclusive. So when you're looking at curriculum, what I'm looking at is how cross-curricular is the curriculum I'm looking at. Does it have a connection to history? Does it have a connection to geography? Does it have a connection to gaming and to technology? Right? And how are you collecting the data to make informed decisions? What is your communication to parents? Because at the end of the day, you have to have a partnership with your parents and your communities. Because these scholars come to you for sometimes a third of the day. They're spending 2/3 of the day somewhere else. If you're not building their relationship, if you're not building their partnership, then you are not doing them well. And then you also have to look at how are you building in cultural relevance. And this is where I want you to give me a little bit of time. Let me just talk about this. How are you building in cultural relevance, and how are you tying in the cultures and that you have in your community? A few months ago, I was on Facebook and I was teaching math in Loma. So our cultures, I know how to count in Loma and Pele, so I will stick with that, but I've listened to other people talk about it. And if you hear you speak in the language, just listen to what I'm about to say and think critically. In Loma, when we count, Gla, there's 1. Flego, Sago, Nango, Dolu. We get a 5. And then we base After that, 5N. Dista, Dolwo, and Gla. Dofla, I told you Flago, right, was 2. And Dolwo, 5. Dolwo, Fla for the 2. That's 7. That's 5 plus 2. That's Loma. That's 7. Dos Sava, 5. Sava, 3. That's 8. And then we get to 10, we say Poo. Now, but here's the point I'm getting at. Now you get to 10, we do the decimal system. Because the decimal system, there's nothing like 10. We count from 0 to 9, and we say the next number that's coming divided by 10. 10 goes into the next number one time, remainder 0. That's why you got a 1 0. The next number, 10 goes into that next number one time, remainder 1. That's why you got 1 1 11.
Right.
And it goes on till you get to 19. So in Loma and in Pele, we say Pugo, that's 10, Kaigla, Pugo with 1 C left over. That's 11. Pugo, Kai Flogo, 10 with 2 left over. That's 12. Pugo, Kai Sago, the Pele call it, they will do the same thing, Poo, and they keep going on and going on and going to get to 20. Now, when we get to 20, we say Zeflogo, 2 hands. 2 hands.
But wait a minute. It's amazing. It's amazing the way you just open my mind. Because we in Crown, if you reach to 20, you say Corazon, 2 hands.
2 hands. 2 hands.
And then when you say
and then you say 2 hands and 11, 1 left over.
When you say 11, you will say Pugue. That means 10. Pugue, that 10. Pugue, that means 1 plus 10. Pugue your Pugue your son, Pugue your ta, Pugue your nye, Pugue your and so forth. Then when you get to 20, then you say Corazon. And then Corazon your Pugue. Oh my goodness.
So 2 hands and 1. That's 21. 2
Yeah.
hands and 2. But now start to imagine when we get to 30, we're doing multiplication by 10. We're doing multiples. We say 3 hands.
Yes.
We're telling you 3 times 10.
Yes.
And when we get to 40, we say 4 hands.
So why are we not? What is? My goodness. Why we even have a counting? Because this is the same. Wow. I don't mean to interrupt. On a very serious note, what you have just done here tonight, and I've done math, but I never thought of it like that. I'm an engineer, but that doesn't even come across. I only associate these counting with the folks like the Bassa people will count almost the same, and everyone, I call it the Sabo people will count almost the same.
The same decimal system idea.
It's the same stuff. Look, you all the way from Lofa. It's the same thing. Corazon, you guys call it 2 hands, 3 hands and 1, 3 hands and 2, 3 hands. Wow. But anyway.
And if you think about the Egyptian system that people have always highlighted, when you keep counting in hands until you get to 90. Now remember there are place values. When we get to 90, we're getting in 100th.
Yeah.
That's a different place value. And so for us, when we get past 99, the hands, we go to 1 head, it's 100. We call it head, 1 head is 100. And so when you think about the Egyptians representing numbers with ships and things, a head is 100 in Loma. And so you can do a head, 2 hands, and 5. 125.
Yes.
Here is the point I'm trying to make that I said, let's slow down on this point. The Crown people, the Loma people, the Pele people, the Bassa people, the Sapo people, the Grebo people, the Kru people did not come to Europe. European ships went down to our coast.
Right.
And so if we have a connection with what they are teaching, who borrowed what from who? I didn't come to you.
Yeah.
How do we have the same thing if you came to my shores? And so this is where I argue with scholars who usually tend to believe in Edward Wilmer Blading, that says that when he says, we had to go back to the Greeks and get the fundamental understanding of mathematics. I said the Greeks did not start mathematics. The Africans started mathematics. Why are we going to the Greeks to get a fundamental understanding of what our grandparents and our great-grandparents give to us? And so when you talk about cultural relevance, that's what I'm talking about. Is how are you linking that? The Native Americans in this country were doing critical mathematics before the coming of the Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
How do you acknowledge that? How do you tie that to content? How do you tie what the Aztecs and the Mayans were doing? And how do you not continue to do more harm by giving credit to Pythagoras for something that Africans were doing, Babylonians were doing 1,000 years before you was born? A squared plus B squared is equals to C squared is an African mathematical ideology. It is not Pythagoras' theorem. Because the Africans were using that to build pyramids, they're using that to tax land in China and other places way before Pythagoras, way even before Jesus' time on this earth. And so when we talk about that cultural relevance, is how can you get all of these students that walk into your classroom to see their ancestry in the content you're teaching? So that's one of the lenses that we look through when we're going to be looking at curriculum and see how everybody, all of our students, can enter and access this mathematics.
But let me ask you this. In this day and age, how do you navigate through the culture of all of these people coming together under this one umbrella called Minneapolis Public School, that is also guided by federal guidelines, state guidelines, and even city guidelines? And within the city itself, you have what I consider to be melting pot, all of these people from different areas. How do you navigate through all of the culture melees and not get into trouble? How do you do that?
So the first thing I do is I lead with my heart. I lead with the true intent of trying to do good. And there might be times where I will fail, but my intent has to be pure. My intent has to be good. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, when it comes to mathematics, Mr. Tool, the one thing we have to all accept is that every culture on this earth, before and now and after, I've always used mathematics as a tool to solve problems, as a tool to coexist. And so once you have that once you accept that, then you start to look at, well, how have you done it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've got Afghan students who came here because of, when the U.S. left Afghanistan so fast. We got a lot of refugees. We got some refugees right now from where the current war is going on, Ukraine. We got Hmong refugees from Asia. We got Liberians refugees. We got Somalis.
Mm-hmm.
We got all these. We got Ethiopians. If you lead with the understanding and acceptance that all of these people have been doing math, their cultures have been using mathematics for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you connect that? So here, it's right here.
Mm-hmm.
See this thing?
Yeah.
It's mathematics.
Yes.
It's
Low.
It is a critical math, right? Fractals. There was, this thing came out, and there's this guy I'm talking to right now. He's a professor at the university in Ohio, and we're talking about doing some research work together for Liberia. When you read about fractals, it's talk about fractals as being something that got developed in Germany, and that came up around the late 70s. What this guy figured by taking aerial pictures of African villages is that no, the Africans have been using fractals all this time to build their villages. Mr. Stowe, I want you to think back to your village, and everybody listening to me right now, think back to your village. Think back to your village. Now I'm about to describe something. It might be a little bit different. Think back to your village. There's a town center.
Yes.
So it's a town center. Everything surrounds that town center. You're in the village. If you come from my village, you got a kitchen that keeps the food. You got a house that people sleep in. You got a kitchen that keeps the food. You got a house that people sleep in. And it goes in a circle around the town center. All you're doing is copying and pasting, fractals.
Yes.
Patterns. That is graduate level mathematics that the Germans tried to take credit for. And this guy saying, no. Have you seen Africans weave clothes? It's patterns. Mr. Tool, you got a perfect example on you right now.
Yeah.
Every time you wear an African cloth, you're wearing mathematics. Our people didn't call it math. It came naturally to them. So why now would we run from that if this came so naturally to our people? I'll give you one more example. In Loma, currency was based on factors of 5.
Okay.
We did 5, we did 10, and then we did 20. That's it. If you wanted 25 cents, phone, remember this, phone at 5 cents, phone, 9 at 10 cents. Senegal at 20. So we basically almost like saying 1 score, 2 scores, 3 scores, like the Bible. If you want to buy something that's 25 cents, it says Senegal phone. We say 120 cents plus 1 5 cents. You want to buy something that's 50 cents? Seneflogo, 220 cents, 9, and 1 dime. That is how our people conduct their business. They never had calculators when they went to the market. They knew that Senisag 3.20 and 15 cents is 75 cents. Yeah, one of your children right now was 3 times 20 plus 15. It didn't take out a calculator right now to whip it up. Then we get to that point. So my thing about Minneapolis, for example, is drawing back those cultural attachment and relevance. And how what they're looking at Liberia is, how can my brothers and sisters who are teaching this craft, this art in Liberia, tie that in? When you're in Lofa County, you're telling people that you are doing multiplication. It's almost like you're doing distributive property, or you're doing PEMDAS or BOTMAS in Liberia. You do the multiplication first, and then you add. It's 3 times 20 plus 15. It's 75. My grandmother, who was a housewife and a Zoe, never went to school, but she knew what 3 times 20 plus 15 was without taking a calculator out.
This is very, very much interesting here this evening. Folks, again, Samson to LeBron Public Radio. I'm here with SIZI GOYAH, who is educating me on a lot of stuff here, opening my mind. As old as this mind is, he's very much opening it up. They have this, and I don't know the English name, but they have this a little piece of steak, and it has leg. They fix it with legs, but it has holes in them, and they have these seeds that you can get from behind your house or something like that, dry them. But you know exactly, they play it in a way that they put numbers and who's going to have the most. And that if you follow the way they go about it, they're calculating in your own head. You start with First, you start with numbers. You pick up because they divide the numbers. They divide those things. And each of them has their own number. But by the time you go around, some people end up with more than the other. Now, I don't know at what point they figure, well, this guy coming around here, he's gonna stop here, and if I go around, I pass him, I will get more. It's numbers. Sometimes when they're ready to count or calculate or the tax money, because I grew up in Total, and my uncle, Uncle K, was a town chief, so he's the one collect. But when they ready to calculate count the money, they go and bring the racks and say this person has these many people in their family, and that person, they put those racks together. And it will be exact. If they count the money, it will be the same thing. So my uncle Cheryl told this man, the people used to borrow him pretty much to build their house, not physically building, but to tell them how high their eaves is supposed to be, how high the roof will be, what is the pitch of that roof. He has no engineering experience, none whatsoever, but he does this thing. So I decided 2 years or so ago when I was going, I decided to challenge him. He built his house, has a good foundation. So I said I'm going to take my square ruler, and I went and put that square edge right by the corner he has it, and there's no space in between. And all this time I've been wondering, how does he do it? Even though they put ropes and things on, but you see other people's house when you stand there, you can see the thing going like that. So most of these people, they already have it built in them, you know. But here we are today. You call my son right now, you ask him, Dad, let me go calculate real quick. You know? So, but let's go a little bit deeper into this now. Let's transfer this without getting into politics and what have you. Do you see these systems that you're involved with here in the state with your own knowledge as being advocates and stuff like that? I'm sure you're very much involved and read a lot about like educational system. Is the system we have back on, is it comparable here? And if so, what are some of the things that perhaps you think we need to improve on?
Well, I always tell people Liberia is not struggling because we don't have systems on the book, right? We do. And actually the system in Liberia, if you think about it, the educational system kind of mimics the American educational system. So for example, MCSS, where my brother, the professor, is as the
CDC professor.
I'll do politics.
I call it CDC professor.
But on a serious note, the MCSS is a consortium of public schools and a defined geographic location. That is what Minneapolis public school system is. That is what the St. Paul public school system is. That is what all of the independent school systems in the United States are. You have a superintendent of school. My boss, my tipi-tipi-ta boss is the superintendent of schools, right? And so we have it laid out. And if you think about it, you have the county education officers, the CEOs. The CEOs are akin to the state education commissioners, right? So in Minnesota, we have an educational commission. We have an education commissioner in charge of education in the state of Minnesota, which is what the CEO for Lofa County, CEO of Bapolu County, CEO of Maryland County. That's what the CEOs do. So the system is there. You have the district education officers, the DEOs that oversee districts. And so the infrastructure legally is laid out, is there. It is the implementation that we lack, and it's been lacking for a long time. Because the way the system was supposed to function is that every school has a measuring system and a system of mentoring teachers and helping teachers to help our students and weeding out teachers who are not right for the field. So your principal is supposed to observe all of the teachers and keep a data. And then the district educational officer collects the data, comes and observe all of the principals, look at all their data and keep a data on the principals and know what failing schools are. And when the schools are failing, you don't just go and get them banned and say, I can't graduate school yet. is you find a reason, you find a way to mitigate that. Bring in other teachers and other administrators from other schools that are doing relatively better to come and mentor these schools. And sometimes you have to close down schools. In America, we'll close down schools that are failing for a long time because it makes no sense to have those schools open because students are going to go there. And if you have those schools open and students are going there, then you are legally not doing right by those students that you are allowing to go to those schools. So either you're putting in place mitigating situations to fix that, or you're closing it down. And then you have the county educational officer that is responsible for the entire county education system and is accountable and is making sure he or she is holding the district educational officers accountable and checking down on them. And then the Ministry of Education oversees all of those county education officers. That is the hierarchy of accountability that is built into our librarian system, which is not different than here. The problem is that we have not been able to act on that accountability structure. The structure is not lacking, it's there. There are people who are getting paid for being DEOs and CEOs, but is the accountability and the accounting structure being utilized? That's where we are failing as a people. And it's not just this government, it's not just the Allen government, it's not the Taylor government alone, it's not the Doe government alone, or the Turbo government. It has been something that's been going on for a very, very long time.
So again, then let's look at the issue with Cummings, who would say do the same thing over when you're expecting different results. So how do we get out of that, Sissy? I mean, you recognize it, and I'm sure you're not the only person, and I'm sure many Liberians, even the educators in Liberia, because many of these people most likely have gone to the same type of process, same educational system that get you to where you are, and some of them have PhDs, so they're not a stranger to these ideas. But yet still, they know the problem is there. Why are we not fixing it? Or it's just not fixable?
Well, it is fixable. I am an eternal optimist. It is fixable. But if I knew the solution, I would read a book and be making a heck of a lot of money. Because it is a...
But wait a minute.
Tapestry.
Before you get into that, Sissy, you just make another point here. If you knew the solution, you were right. You're working in a system right now that already have that kind of solution.
The point is, where are we dropping the ball? That's the point I was making. Where are we dropping the ball?
All right. Okay. All right.
Because we have a tapestry of so many wrongs coming together and making a very nice fabric that we walk on in Liberia. We use all of the things that are not supposed to make sense, and we bring them together, and it's a mosaic. It is so beautiful. It's a beautiful art of nonsense, if I can say that on LPR.
We will forgive you because you're very smart. So we'll let it go.
If
hold on, let me put a little fun in there. If you're a seditious, I was gonna say something about you're not a seditious. So
don't bring trouble here, CDC man. When I got cost me here tonight again. But on a serious note, it is highly an issue of accountability and the political will, political spines of people who appoint people to hold them accountable, and people who have the wherewithal to say, I will buck the system. Even if it means me not having a job, I will buck the system. But that comes with having some understanding and you haven't taken an inventory of your self-worth and understanding that a bit of buck the system. I used to tell my last superintendent this every time. When they bring stuff, I said, nope, that doesn't make sense mathematically. I'm not doing it. And I said, because that disadvantages students who are new to country, that disadvantages our women students, that disadvantages, and I would say, why I'm not going to do it. And some people will come sometimes and say, my man, Mr. GOYAH, why you always tell your boss you're not doing stuff? You know they can fire you. I say, yo, let her go ahead and fire me. I get a job right down the street in 24 hours. I take 23 hours to rest, and the next 1 hour I get a job because I understood my worth. It is difficult to not just find a math teacher. It's difficult to find a Black math teacher who is also an engineer that understands how the math works. And so I'm willing to lay that on the line and say, you won't fire me, fire me. And so when this job came up in Minneapolis, this jobs were up since last year. People been behind me to apply, so I didn't want to leave the classroom. It stayed there for a whole year until I applied for it. And so I told them what my philosophies are, what I'm coming with, and what I hope to see. I went to the interview from a position of strength, saying, here's what I would want to do. And if you're not willing to do that, then don't offer me the job. But quite too often, we got people who go down to our country to seek their retirement.
Mm-hmm.
The 401k that they didn't invest in this country is where they go to get their 401k. And for sometimes they don't have the moral compass to understand that they are creating generational poverty. When you don't educate our scholars, when you don't educate our students, you're creating generational poverty, cyclical poverty. If your dad or your mom didn't acquire good education, if your dad or your mom did not have a good relationship or interaction with education, there are studies out there that show that the chances of you looking at education in a favorable light is very slim. So you create generational poverty. You create a generation of, sorry for the language, zogos. And these people don't get that. And somehow it don't wear on their conscience. And they go to church and they put money in the offering plate and they walk away, not understanding the harm they have caused. And so when you ask the question, why it's not happening abroad, I think it's going to take a change agent. And that change agent has to be somebody both at the very, very top and somebody going in and recognizing that if you keep the job for 2 weeks to fire you, that's fine. Walk away with your hair's hip or high. You can come back to America and get your job back, or you can stay in abroad and even get a better job. That you went into public service not for the money, but you went into public service to make a change. And that is why, I laugh sometimes when people go, my man, you ran for office. I said, yeah, I ran for office. You asked that question. I ran for office for city council that was going to pay me $6,000 per year. And I was going to be doing a lot of work, because the reason I did that and I ran for school board was because I didn't want people who didn't know anything about education making policy statement and policy positions based on my classroom without ever being in the classroom. But there has to come a time where people, us, who go to Liberia, and when the plane door open and the heat blows up and we change, we forget everything we learned. There has to come a time where we start shaming some of these people publicly. Because when you know better, Mr. Toe, you ought to do better. And there's a lot of people who leave from this country knowing better and go down to Liberia and don't do better. And that is a shame on them.
True. I give you an example of what you just stated here. Some time back, I went home. A friend of mine called me to help with some of he had a project, and I went to Minister of Public Works, and I explained to them, this is what I can do, and I went in some of their previous design, some previous project that have some faulty. I thought it was faulty design, because you have a roll and you put in a bridge, and the bridge sidewall, instead of say, okay, you're gonna get the shoulder and the sidewall to be the same, you decide to squeeze the roll, so to speak, and you have a roll where the bridge is narrow now. And not only that, you have the edge of the bridge sticking out almost about 6-7 feet into the roll. And the edge of the bridge is almost 8 inches or so, 9 inches high. So is anybody coming with speed and hit that, they're going to flip over. So I told the guy, I'm not going to, I don't do these things. So, well, that's why we do it here. I said, well, then you all can take your stuff. Because I knew when I come back, I'm still going to be working. But they don't understand that. And these people are smart. They are not dumb. Why would you allow these kinds of stuff to happen in your country? Let's just look at Rawafi Highway. The people that are there working day in, day out, smart engineers. Why would you allow the Chinese to come and give you a less than 24-foot roadway in the middle, and they're digging both sides of the road 6-7 feet deep, and no K-rail nothing to stop car from falling into that hole. And you guys sit there and allow that to happen, knowing fully well that this is not right. This is not how you would do it. But because you feel you need, like you correctly stated, they're there for their retirement. And at one time, at that time, the Pumpkin Power was still running show. Every time you complain, you say, the Pumpkin Power, I don't want to hear that one. You know, those are the kinds of stuff that really affecting all of us. So, Sister, you're quite correct. I think if our brothers and sisters would try their best, and they are educated, highly educated, there's no question asked, you know. But why would they allow these systems to be the way they are? Look at the traffic. You have some of the best traffic engineers in Liberia. They're right there. Yep. But look at the traffic they're driving in. Look at the traffic they take to work, the same road they take to work. Look at that.
And you pass a law for a third lane in a country that got 2 lanes.
So that's just that. Twice I saw this one guy. He drives Mazda of Congleton Highway. One afternoon, we were sitting down in my friend's office, and you can see the road. And this guy, he was going towards Monrovia, and the president convoy coming from Monrovia. He parked right there, stopped his car. And everybody, including the president convoy, was going around. He refused to move. Everybody else was moving one side. He refused. He didn't move. He didn't drive forward or anything. He just stopped his car and sat in his car. Until everyone finished, the last police guy that was there, he too blocked the guy. He said, then you're not going. So the guy said, okay, the president, I finished showing you now I got to go on my way. So he moved out. But the point is somebody have to stand up.
So, Mr. I think I think that is a need for. It's a deeper conversation that needs to happen. So, without calling anybody name, I get a friend tells me, SIZI, I need you to collect textbooks and educational material for Liberian schools. I've been doing that for a long time, very, very long time, for a lot of places, including Nimba Community College and Lofa Community College and Bomi and everywhere, right? Because I believe that. God blessed me to come here to be a blessing to my people. So anywhere my foot is in the door, I'm asking for resources for my people. But I say, look, and he said, look, and this person works in the government. And I said, okay, write me a letter, an official letter saying that I will, so like when I take to my bosses and say we need materials, I can say, I'm acting on behalf of the government need material, this person will do that. He said, oh yeah, I can get you the letter. In the interim, while waiting for the letter, I disagree with him on a policy issue on Facebook.
Oh, there we go.
And he took it personally. And so he refused now to read me that letter.
Because of his personal belief now, people are suffering.
He comes to the U.S., refuses to talk to me. Don't even call me. Don't even acknowledge me. Then he goes back to Liberia. So now he's in his feelings. But because of his personal feelings now, countless of Liberian educators and students don't have access to materials that they would have otherwise received, simply because I called him out on something he wrote and I said he was wrong. Just that. I wasn't insulting. You know me, I don't go on Facebook to insult people.
Right,
so it was not insulting. It was an academic exchange of ideas, and I say he was wrong based on the data that I know exists. That was it. And that is a small example of how people in positions of trust create problems, create serious problems. I told you about how we had a 9-member Chinese delegation here the other day.
I was just going to ask you to bring that up. Yeah, go ahead.
These people send their deputy, their vice mayor, they call it vice mayor, their vice mayor, 3 principals. This is a city that has almost 1 million students in China. And they came down, and my boss said, oh, Mr. GOYAH, we have a delegation from China. I'm not available. Can you join the other chief academic officer and go there on our behalf and do some presentation on behalf of the district? And so I'm like, well, 2 weeks in. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go and see what we can do. So I get there and I'm thinking these people are coming to come and ask for textbooks. We need textbook. Please give us more this. So I'm waiting for them, right? These people start to present. And they're talking about how they can build partnership, how they want a sister-school relationship. Just like you got sister-cities relationship, they want a sister-school district relationship where we can send our staff there to get professional development. And they can send the staff here to get professional development, and they show us how we both will benefit. And they can send the teachers here to teach. And we can learn from their teachers. And we can send our teachers there to teach, and their teachers in China can learn from our teachers. And so I'm sitting down in this place.
Liberia was all on your mind.
That is all I was thinking. That is all I was thinking.
You were getting paid for these by these people, but you Liberia all with suffering. With suffering.
But here's the thing. There's a smart politician said something recently. He said, you cannot sell what you don't know you have. You can't sell what you don't know you have. Dr. Emmanuel Yakpaulo said that recently. You can't sell what you don't know you have. Mr. To, you can only sell to people the things you know you have. You know how many educators in Liberia that are okra and well-versed in culturally relevant pedagogy, how to teach African students, how to teach Black students that we could bring here to do professional development for our West staff here that we could learn a lot from. And we will be at equals and making negotiations and not being beggars. This is not strange. Most people in the liberal education system, in the hierarchy, understands the gem, the value of the teachers. And there are people who went to KRTTR and ZRTTR that got a B certificate that are excellent educators. That some of us will want to drink from their well. But when we come to these countries, we don't come to negotiate as we got something to offer. We come like a sour leaf. Our hands are open. We want. And so I was in that room, and when the delegation left, there is a Somali guy who is also an executive director for another section. Him and I stopped to talk, and I said, "Yo, man, we teach Somali in Minneapolis Public School. We teach Somali as a language." And I said, "Can we get Somali teachers from Somalia to come here and teach our Somali math in Somali? And that would be great." He's like, "Yes!" His eyes lit up because they're already doing it in Somalia. And then we started talking about Liberia.
And you couldn't offer nothing.
No, but I could offer stuff. But the point was, he said, "Mr. GOYAH, you're political, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I don't know a lot of people in Somalia. I'm not that political like you. I've watched you. I've seen you." He said, "But I think Liberia can benefit more because you're so closely aligned. You speak the English. It's so easy for y'all. You understand the government is just like your governance system, and everything will be easy to sell them." So I'm saying this not to shame anybody. I'm saying this for us to understand as Liberians, we got a lot to offer to the world. We have a lot to offer to the world that we can sit down and negotiate. There are a lot of talents in Liberia, a lot. One of the brothers I was trying to interview, Maluba, who is 2 times Bon County Best Teacher of the Year, right? These are valuable gems we got. Are we leveraging them? We're not. And that's a problem.
One last question before I open the line here. You still, I think, give us a fix. Give us just 1 or 2 words of fix from the perspective of the country, Republic of Liberia. Give us a fix from your own way of where you think, perhaps, even if it's not just a fix, but an approach to the fix. Because if I say give us a fix right now, it's like they listen, it's a joke. But what do you think will be an approach to the fix?
The first thing is this movement that demonizes our history, our culture. We gotta rethink it. And I'm gonna expand on that. Everywhere meaningful that I've been. Quite recently, I was the keynote at the Minnesota Council of the Teachers of Mathematics. Spoke to about 1,800 math teachers across the state. First time an African has keynoted that position. And when I introduced myself, I said, my name is SIZI GOYAH. And I come from a long line of teachers. My grandfather was a professor in the poorest school. My grandmother was a professor in the Sunday school. We have to get back to that. I'm not saying people should go and do female mutilation. That's not the point I'm making, because there was a lot more happening in the Sunday schools beyond just mutilation. Women were there learning how to be women, how to be housewives, how to keep money, how to make farms, how to raise children well, all of the things. Men were there learning engineering, learning farming, learning everything on how to be a loving husband and treat your wives well. In those schools, we were learning mathematics. In those schools, we were learning nursing and medicine. That's how you got your zoos that can take leaves and put them together for you to drink and get well. We have to get back to basics. Yes, we take away things that are not right, which is what all cultures have done, including the European culture. But we don't fully abandon. Because when we do that, we divorce ourselves from reality, and it's very difficult for our children to interact with content that their ancestors were doing. Mathematics, for example. Because now it's not fashionable to be a Loma man. I know people here who, when you speak Loma, say, I don't speak Latin. And then they don't speak English properly either. Now, so which one of the things do you speak?
Say, I don't even know why you know speak. Yeah.
Right? I've been in this country for a long time. I still speak fluent Loma. I can speak Loma all day without putting English in it. And people say, oh, my man, you still remember that thing? I said, don't call it a thing. I still remember my culture. I still remember how my grandmother used to count. I remember how my grandfather used to do medicine as in medical science for healing people. And so we have to get back to that. That is one thing great cultures like the Europeans and the Americans do so well, is they teach their history. They teach the greatness of their people. They keep that in. We are one of the few people on this planet that run away from the greatness of our ancestors. The last time I was here, I was talking to you about Madame Swakoko, the one female general who stopped the expansion of the Liberian frontier force and commanded warriors. And I told you about somebody telling me about a lady, a general that used to serve with Swakoko named Sani, after whom Sani Kwale is named. Lango Lepe, for example. Where are we teaching our children those things? There is a war in Lofa Kante in Yela that is older than the Chinese war that we built in Yela to stop the encroachment of Europeans, French people taking Liberian territory. That war is still there in Lofa County. Where are we teaching that? The monkey bridge. The monkey bridge. Yeah. You know how much science and mathematics is in that thing? You go to Seattle, that bridge is mimicked after the monkey bridge.
Yes.
Where are we teaching that?
They tried another one way back in the 30s and they didn't stand. It fell apart.
So when you ask me the question, and I don't have we don't have to go through 1,000 examples of where we should go. I say one thing we do is we go back to basics. We go back to basics and honor who we are as a people. Liberians are a smart, talented people. I was reading recently about a book my kids were reading about the Mandinka people. You know, the Loma people, that we are a derivative of Mandingo people. And the amount of knowledge and things that the Mandingo people brought and the Mandinka people brought. We got to get back to basics. We got to get back to understanding what our forefathers did and how they did that. You talk about counting rocks. You know what calculus means? It means pebbles. Those people were counting pebbles, and it's calculus. And so I get very passionate when I talk about this, because for me, my life work has been about getting my African students, my children in this country who are Africans, to walk proud and hold their heads up high when somebody calls them an African, to understand that they come from a dynasty of smart people, not the National Geographic understanding of an African, which means you're less than. But sadly, that is what our children are getting. That's why they run away from being Africans. That's why when people call them Africans in building, they look at it as being an insult versus a validation. So we could go on for days talking about this, but that would be the one thing I say in Liberia we start with. How do we start to recognize our heroes and heroines and people who did wonderful things? And how do we lionize those people and heroify them and move on forward and build on the things our ancestors did that were great, and the things that weren't so great? Yes, we abandon them, but we keep the things that were so great about our culture and about our ancestors.
Okay, folks, again, Samson Tor. This is Liberian Public Radio. I have with us here tonight our own SIZI GOYAH, a member of the Liberian Public Radio family. I thought with the heated situation, heated political season in Liberia, I thought we'd bring in somebody that perhaps will help to cool things down a little bit. And we'll start again tomorrow. And we'll start my tapata again tomorrow. But tonight, I told you guys that tonight's show, those of you that are tuning in, will enjoy yourself, and I hope you are. So let me put a number up. Sister, you don't mind me putting the number up, those who want to call?
No, it's okay. I think it's an academic exchange. You know, we want to hear other people. Maybe some people have a disagreement, and we'll also hear that. And that's one of the things that's missing in our culture. People used to come and disagree on the Palawa hut.
Right.
And we never lynched anybody for that. But now we get to this point where we are so educated now, and we are so intolerant at the same time. So no, put the numbers up. I want to hear other people's perspectives, and they don't have to agree with me. And that is the reason, I think, for a free exchange of ideas, so other people can learn, and I too might be able to learn and get disabused of some of my, soapbox I've been sitting on.
Right, but I'm not going to keep the number long because I'm jealous. I want to get everything from you by myself. So those who want to call, the number is up there, 916-533-2048. But while we're waiting for calls, if are they're going to call, if not, usually if this was something, okay, I was getting ready to run my mouth. Somebody calling already. Okay. Samson told LeBron Public Radio, what's your name? Where you're calling from? Well, how come I can't hear you? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, hold on. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for calling. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. This is Dr. Toto.
Okay, all right, Doc. Can you hold on 1 minute? Let me put tonight I will call him Aaron Brabler. I'm not gonna call the other name. So let me merge Mr. Brabler on, because tonight is a very serious business. So let me Mr. Brabler, hold on 1 minute. Go ahead, Doc. Why am I? Okay, hold on, guys, hold on. So why am I not?
We need to change the prescription in the glasses or what?
Yeah, I think so. Dr. Toto, y'all hold on 1 minute. Let me change this thing. I bigger. I can't see now. I bigger. My people, I'll call you back. What kind of business? I'm glad Mr. So is not here because you would have been eating this thing all up. I can't see this or that. So let me connect it again. No, hold on. Okay, let me see now. Let me call Dr. Toto. Let's see. Ah. Okay. Hello? Mommy? Hey, something going on with my phone.
You want to put my number up?
Yeah, you have it in here. We can put it up. But let me hold on, folks. Yeah, put if you have the number on there, please do so. Let me restart my phone. So anyway, while we're waiting for the call, we still have so many here anyhow, and a lot of people are calling already. They started buzzing all over, but so can you hear me? Okay. Okay, folks. Samson told Liberal Public Radio, I'm having a good time here because of that. Let me warn all of y'all who put on my phone here tonight. The Kate Agaya. You better move your phone from on my phone. Let's start working. Okay. All right. Let me see now.
I got my number up. You want me to keep it there?
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, keep it there. So they will call, and that's fine. Go ahead. All right, folks. If you can reach that number. All right.
LeBron Public, this is SIZI GOYAH.
Yeah, this is Dr. Todo.
Yeah, you can hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think we're having an echo.
I don't have any labor tonight.
Oh, that I can hear you. No.
Okay. I thought probably I try to gossip with
and I'm probably don't gossip. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Todo.
Go ahead, Jack.
But Sissy, thank you so much. I want to do that when I hear about education. I because so passionate. When it comes to Liberia education system, we have a very good system in Liberia. Most of the time, when people don't really appreciate the system in Liberia, but it works. I can recall when I graduated from high school in Liberia, and when I went to university in Nigeria in electrical engineering, and we were 2 or 3 Liberians, and we tapped the university there, and most of the Nigerians were proud. They used to come. In fact, they used to say, "Oh, you people have American system. Why you come and go to our system for? We Nigeria don't have good system here." And people were discrediting their own system. They say, "Oh, you gotta get American system. Why you come and go
Hold on
to
one
our
second,
system?"
Hold on one second. Hold on,
Yeah.
let me merge. Okay, hello, caller. Just hold on. Yeah, hold on one second. I'll get to you. Well, it says unable to make conference calls. What happened? I ended up hanging on both Dr. Toto and.
Oh my goodness!
I tried to merge the 763 number and say I can make conference call. I don't know.
No?
Yeah, sorry about that, Dr. Toto. I tried to merge and I ended up hanging up on you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as I was saying, so the system like Liberia is so unique. But the problem we have in recent time is because we don't want to create a good institution, a good environment to attract a lot of good professionals now in the system before Liberia. So people are tend to do a backup. So we don't, government or with the private sector, we're not putting a lot of good resources, human resources to tap our talent, people, especially the education system in Liberia. So yeah, because so vulnerable. Right now, look at, if you were in Liberia during the war, look at from 1990 to 1995 or 96, look at the graduates that were pulled out as compared to graduates.
I got another number calling again. Let me see if they will allow me to merge this.
It is a serious problem there. So as you already said, we need to create like a hall of fame to recognize our good talent, instructors, teachers, especially from high school, and to recognize them and to give them the opportunity to come here and learn and change program like you are saying. We had those things working like before the war. They had a change program where professors, teachers to leave from America here to go back like to teach at LU or even some of the high school. In Liberia, we had those systems, but we have become too political and forget about those thing that's what makes Liberia be a good society. That's one of the problems because we have become so political. Every Liberian now become a politician, addressing politics. But without finding the necessary thing. Yeah, that's all I'm saying, man.
All right, Dr. Toto, we hope you'll be willing to go back home soon. You were one of the best brains from Liberia, too.
Yeah, we hope so, you know. But,
all right, appreciate it, Doctor. 763-533 number, you're on.
Good evening, Mr. SIZI. I love the way you pronounce your full name. My name is Pastor Giro. Since you pronounce your name that way, let me put mine on there. It's Gerald Jacob Wanimnasea Cummins.
There you go. There you go.
Another professor.
I want to ask you one question. Do you have a book out there already?
No, I don't have a book that I've authored yet, but I have been a fellow. I've worked as a fellow on a lot of work that is out there, especially on professional development for teachers and how to include students' voice in education. Mr. So, they were the one that I showed you in my office when you came.
Yeah.
So I don't have a book out there that I have authored yet, but I've worked with academic institutions to come up with with a professional development guide for teachers.
You know, the reason why I asked the question, the last time I listened to Dr. Yapalu, as a pastor and a journalist, Dr. Yapalu is one of the people, since I had a one-on-one with the late Sheikh Kafuma Konen and the late Reverend Emmanuel Jonathan Buyan, Dr. Yapalu is one of the people who came on the radio for the first time after many years that I listened to, and I saw something. And I commented on the Spoon Network, and I said, he's one of the best political interviewees that I have listened to over the years. People were looking at politics, but they were not looking at the historicity of his journey. And the reason I asked you that question as it relates to a book out there is because we have many professional people. Sometimes they discuss these issues, and when they leave, we go to the Palm Grove Cemetery. We take them to the Palm Grove Cemetery or the Dupont Road Cemetery or the Deesville or Josephville Cemetery. They carry the books with them. They leave nothing behind. They leave nothing. They carry everything. Yes, they contributed immensely in the classroom, but where is the book? Where is something that they're leaving behind? That's why you will notice over the years, sir, the curriculum has been the same. I remember there was a Dr. Slerian. At that time, I was at the University of Liberia and the Vision Bible University. And the government of Liberia said they were closing down religious institution because they never met the requirement to run. But the question to Dr. Slerian was, do we have anything at the Ministry of Education that has to do with religious education? He said, yes. I said, that I challenge you on that. Bring us that curriculum that says these are the requirements for religious education. No. So they were closing the schools down based upon something else. No curriculum. The curriculum that Mr. Toll saw while he was there going to school is the same curriculum. They have not revised the curriculum yet.
Mr. Toll said there was no curriculum in total. So.
So it's the same thing. So, I mean, I listened to you. You really made my day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
There is another thing that you don't find on the radio stations in Liberia. And most often, I watch programs on the internet. 99% of the programs acted or centered around politics. The professional people, some of them stay away. They don't come to contribute their ideas or their quota. In Liberia, we got plenty of lawyers. But listen to all the radio stations, Mr. SIZI. Thank God for Mr. Toh, who brought you on tonight. The first time I listened to you, I called Mr. Sohn and I said, that guy, that man carries something. I wish many people can only see beyond politics. And political institutions will look for people, brilliant people, to put them together, because what is lacking in our country is that the professional folks, when they get to town, they change overnight. Where is the cultural orientation? But let me now bore you a lot. I want to say thank you so much. But I look forward to seeing a book out there, or I look forward to seeing you coming to contribute to revise our curriculum that we have, so that it will help. I mean, help our country be on par with our international or our neighbors, like Liberia used to be some time back. You live in Minnesota. There's something you talk about, professional people. Mr. SIZI, when I used to live in Minnesota, there's a small town called Hampton City. The mayor at the time when President Obama became president was a Liberian. Liberian had an opportunity for 50 firefighters to come to this country.
1 second, emerging Iran problem.
Yeah.
To come to this country. We squandered the opportunity just for $60,000. And right in that city where you live, there were people who politicized the issue of Mayor Pierre Flomo, because Mayor Pierre Flomo never went to BWR.
I still remember that.
Santo electric.
Yep, I still remember that. Yep. But
so you see how we operate sometimes, and this is the reason why we are where we are today.
Thank you so much, Pastor. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pastor Cummins. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I will do my best. If you can hear me, I hope there's another young lady here who is from Liberia as well, but she's also in education. She does curriculum and stuff like that. So I will try to merge her with SIZI on the platform here, because I think we will do good here if we continue to bring these young people on who are very talented, not necessarily politicians, but who are very talented to help us. Go ahead, bring tonight. I'm not going to call him the other name. I'll call him Aaron Brother. Is he on?
I think I hung up on Aaron. Same player coming by, I beg you, I missed you.
Yeah. Tonight I will call him Honorable. Yeah, is he calling back? I'm not gonna call the other name.
You on? B player.
Yeah, I'm on.
Yeah.
Okay, so good evening, Mr. Blabla. Good evening, Mr. Blabla. Tonight I'm not gonna call the other name. I will call the real name, because we're talking serious business tonight. So.
Yeah, what's it?
Good evening.
How you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Toh. I'm doing great. How you doing, SIZI?
I'm good, my brother.
Great job, man. Great job, SIZI. Congratulations again. I'm really proud of you. One Liberian goes up there, we all, gotta be proud of Liberia. I got a question for you though. Mr. Toh asked you a question, and you said, we just need to go back to basics. And you made mention of the Sunday at the Poro Society, okay? And you talk about, how they were teaching mathematics and, all the subjects, in those society and stuff like that. You stress mainly on the female, mutilation thing. Do you think that, without that, would those both society be, or success, or be, influential like they were with it? That's my question to you. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So I said I didn't want to focus on the female genital mutilation piece of that, because there is a lot of conversations to be had around there, and people hold strong feelings one way or the other. The point I was trying to make is that there were a lot more things happening in the Sandy society beyond female genital mutilation or female circumcision, whatever name you want to give it. That was done at the end, actually, when they're about to come out, right? It was more like a diploma kind of thing. And I'm not here to take a position either for or against. But the point I was trying to make is that, and I think Aaron asked the question you're asking is that, were there more things happening that could sustain that? And my answer is yes. Because for a very long time in the hinterlands, when schools were not in the hinterlands, our people still had commerce. Our people still had trading going on. Our people still had, as a matter of fact, they had foreign affairs, diplomacy happening between villages.
Yes.
Even without an Americanized education or a Westernized education. And so, yes, there were a lot of things happening. Yes, there were a lot of great things, education going on. And so that was my point is we can go back to basics. We can do like other cultures have done. Every culture have had something they're not so proud of. And they've managed to say, okay, that part we'll leave it alone. We focus on the other things that were so great. And that's the point I was making. And I don't presume to know all of that. But I was just saying that at minimum, we'll go back and start to pick those things that were really great, that was working for Liberians, that we can elevate and we can highlight and we can build some passion and compassion for our country. And that's how most countries actually build patriotism, especially in this country. When people talk about George Washington, they not tell a lie. It's not main lie, one time main lie. But you build that mystique around them in order to be able to have some patriotism as a rallying crowd. So that's the point I was making. And there were a lot of education taking place, both scientific and religious, because our people, before the coming of Christians and Muslims, had an understanding of the creation of the world. They would tell you stories about how the world was created. They will tell you stories about, for example, how Sparrow got a small waist. They will tell you stories that got meaning, understanding, and for you to be able to understand the whole world through stories around the fire hearth. And that's the point I was trying to get to.
Thank you. Let me ask James Wood B as a question as a country, and that will be the last question, Cesar, then when you can wrap it up for us. He said, as a country, we should have a philosopher of education. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
I don't know what that is.
No, I think what he's getting to is to have a Liberian philosophy in education. What does it mean to have a Liberian education? In this country, we have Indian education. You have. So, what does it mean to philosophize about Liberian education? And that would mean looking back at before the coming of our brothers and sisters from America. What did education look like? And sadly, now in Liberia, people tend to only look at education from the European point of view. That you went to K through 8 or K through 12 school, and you had kindergarten, primary 1, primary 2, and you went through all that. And that is sad for our culture, because there were a lot more education taking place. And I would still even argue there were a lot more education that take place in our villages than happen in our classroom. I think what we need to do is to find a way to connect those education that take place in our villages and in our classroom. And that is what I talk about today when we talk about the counting method, for example. How do you bridge that? So that a child who's going back to Totan in a village after coming from learning, go to your grandma and say, I brought math, and grandma can say, don't bring nothing to me that white people wish I don't bring it here. No, grandma is the same way you've been counting, and that's how we do it. Right. And so I think, yes, we should we should have an F. And we are so unique, James, Mr. Woods. We are so unique in that. Oh, Pa George, I gotta carry on. Pa George, hold on one second. We are so unique in that we are one of the fewer countries in the world that have both an enslaved population and a returning free formerly enslaved population and an indigenous population that never left. Right? And so we are in a unique place to be able to coin what that philosophy is. What does it mean to have a Liberian education? And I'm not talking about the 13 subjects thing we're taking. That's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at how do we tie what was happening in Zlowo, in Tota, in Bongé, in Balafane, what our people were doing. Remember when we had wars, people were fighting wars. Our people were fighting wars and they learned chemistry on things that are flammable, that they could burn down villages with. Right. It's chemistry. And there's warfare. Today we study Alexander the Great and say those were great warriors, and we don't talk about Madame Swakoko and what was her guerrilla tactics. What was the warfare that she applied that halted the Liberian frontier force with its sophisticated weapons? Right. So yes, Mr. Woods, to not take up all your time, absolutely, definitely, there has to be a conversation about that, and I think it's belated, but we can still do that. Mr. George.
Yeah, okay, put Mr. George on, and he will be the last one, and then we can wrap up.
Let me take my phone number down. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. George.
Oh, Cecil, let me congratulate you and Mr. Two for doing a wonderful job.
Don't say Mr. Two, say the liberal.
Already.
Look, you know, Cecil, what all you explained tonight, somehow that got this additional connection. It just breaks my heart. I was thinking about my uncle. Certain places, when they say it will rain, when that cloud get to that point, it will tell you it will rain. It will rain.
It will rain. It will rain.
Meteorologists. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The river, there was a river used to get full. About 15 to 20 minutes, the river resent. And he would say, look, you see the rocks from up there, when that water hitting the rocks, it reduces the force. And I was thinking, okay. But now when I sit and start looking at all that, what is that? But these people were well educated. How they got to study all these things? I just said that you know what about the Monkey Bridge.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It hangs over the road when the road it go up. How the people got to study these things? And we say, our people were not educated. You know, and I just thank God that sisters like you, what you're breaking down, I think it's not time that the Liberian people who are in education rally around the brain like you people to develop a curriculum for Liberia. You see that MCS system you were talking about? It was set up by the late Dr. Aiken. When he returned from the United States, I think he was in Atlanta, with Dr. Tom Jonah, who is a Black American. That is system they put together and took when he went to Liberia. That MCS system, the public school system. But today, look at the system. I don't know whether I have achieved the goal or not, but I just want to commend you, Sissy, and continue to do the good work that you are doing. Thank you. Samson to the Liberal, thank you very much. Oh look, this is one of the best interviews you have ever done.
Don't get it, Papi started to now begging you, Mr. Johnson.
What happened to Malice? Malice, the PhD.
He say he won't be plowing you tonight.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. George. Sissy, I want to take this opportunity myself to tell you thank you very much. And like I said, the reason why this heated political season and I thought to have a conversation with you is exactly what it is. What you have demonstrated here tonight. It's not that you're more smarter than many Liberians, but the fact that you are able to identify these things and work towards them. And because of the issues or the abilities that you have to identify and try to resolve issues intellectually, get you to where you are. Nothing else. You got no book medicine. Hey, you got book medicine, please sell it to Walmart. People will buy it, you know. But the fight is that you know what you want. And many Liberians are like that. I was just going to say this here. Those of us that are from the countryside, although I don't know English here, I'm still trying. But before the word comes out of your mouth, most of us got to go back into the Crown dialect and speak the Crown before you bring it out into English. And so then I was, you know, But that's what it's just difficult, but that's fine. That's what makes us very smart. And not just Liberians, many Africans, except many other African nations, citizens tend to go the wrong side and they with their crookery business. But many Liberians, you come in this country with not even $500 in your pocket. None. If you'll be lucky if you have $200 in your pocket. But here you are. You're riding the best car. You live in the best built house. You got the best job. Only because you recognize that in order for me to do well in this country, it's for me to educate myself. And I think with that example that you said, and many of you have said as young Liberians, better days of Liberia is way ahead of us. Because as you were speaking, you heard the pastor here. He's one of those young men as well, but he follow good thing. I know him. He doesn't all the time. So most of the time we can be talking about Tabata, he can be watching, but he's not going to participate but if you bring quality into a substantive debate or substantive conversation like this, you will find people that will gravitate towards this thing. I want to thank you very much for the opportunity again. Like I said, I will do my best to connect you with Dr. Stephania Forte. She lives over there in Delaware, and I will try to see if I can bring her on along with you and see if you guys can help us to educate us. We're still not old enough to learn. And I really want to say thank you very much. I don't know if you have a parting word here tonight or you just want to say good night.
Well, there are a lot of Liberians that are doing way more passionate work. I've heard of Dr. Forte, but I'm also reminded of my younger brother, Dr. Saki Golafali, assistant professor of chemistry at Kent State University. Right? There are Liberian minds. There are smarter people around here. Yeah. And I think, and that's why I say you can't sell what you don't know you have, Mr. And I think hopefully this is an open conversation. And my brother Dr. Golafale, I hope you're not mad. I'm dropping your name out here. But I pay homage to you as my younger brother and as a towering intellectual. There are a lot of those people that need to come up, that we need to give them the platform to come up and speak their mind without people insulting them. There are very few people that have thick skin. Yesterday I was on my workouts talking about, and I just reached out back to them. I said, remember, we're still brothers. But not everybody would take that, right? And so there are a lot more of us. There are a lot more people even smarter than I am and way younger than I am. But the one thing I want to put in the space for everybody is I've always said that I'm not looking for a job in Liberia. Liberia is my country. I'm looking to help Liberia. I cannot leave my job to work in Liberia, but I can offer my services. I offered that during the Ellen government. I offered that during the first stages of the George Weah government to go back home and help with the rewriting curriculum and setting teacher standards, teacher licensing standards, and all those pieces. I will continue to offer them to the next government. If it's George Weah, I will offer. If it's Boakai, I will offer. If it's Komis, I will offer. And when it is Tiawan Gongo, the guy I support, I will offer. Whomever it is, as long as it benefits Liberian, I will continue to offer my service to my people, because at the end of the day, George Weah children will not be the only children that benefit from it. I don't even know they go to school in Liberia. Komis children will not be the only children that benefit from it. I don't even know they go to school in Liberia. Tiawan Gongo children or Ambassador Boakai's children will not be the only people that benefit from it. I truly believe, Mr. To, I like to say this. When I went to the American Embassy in Liberia for my visa, there were people before me that were denied. There were people after me that were denied, and I got my visa. It was not because I was the most holy person. As a matter of fact, I was not going to church. So I think I was blessed to be a blessing to my nation, and I will continue to offer my service free of charge. Free of charge. Whoever government is in charge that needs to have a conversation, we will talk about it, and I'll offer my services because God has blessed me, because my ancestors blessed me, and I need to return that to my native land.
Okay, well, folks, again, Samson to Liberian Public Radio. With me tonight, Liberian Public Radio own Director SIZI GOYAH, who is a Director of Mathematics K through 12 at Minneapolis Public School district, public school system, whatever they call it. I can only call in Crown Island, but I'm not going to do that here. Sister, thank you very much. And then,
you know, my man, give me my crown here, right? I hang out, do my ground, then man, I push the thing, I crown, my need tele, I'm from Congo district, my man. We the power people.
Bubble from Boston district.
Don't correct me.
Okay. Sorry. In fact, those from Criminal District to anyway.
But yeah, man, it was nice. It was nice being on. All jokes aside, we are all Liberians. We're
right.
I don't know why we get so much angry at one another.
Right.
But it was so nice. I appreciate the interview today, and I appreciate the opportunity. I've told you always, I look up to you. People don't know a lot about you because he come there and joke a lot, but this dude is a smart civil engineer, and he jokes around a lot, and I think that is his own way of handling stuff. But my salute to you.
Thank you.
You are a pace setter, whether you believe it or not. There are a lot of people who listen to you. I've seen you fix a car while listening to crowd music.
I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it this Saturday. I'm gonna drop my whole.
Don't let it be like the last time where you couldn't find the other thing that you look nowhere. But thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay. Good night.
Right.
Again, folks, Samson told LeBron Paparito, wonderful show tonight. I told you guys from the beginning that if you have the opportunity to stay with us tonight, that you are going to enjoy it. And I think many of you most likely enjoyed the show tonight, especially where Sissy took us from the Zaza district all the way to Minneapolis. I thought that was a wonderful conversation, to be honest with you, because many of you Liberians, pretty much same type story. You came in this country with nothing, but because of the culture that was instilled in you by your parents, not necessarily biological parents, but by Liberians, where we believe that a village can raise a child. Because those days, if you do anything, by the time your mom and pa come from the farm, you already know you're going to get whooping, but the other people have already told you that what you did in that time was wrong. Give you standard, give you character. And the mind's job is to bring these characters out of these young people. Yeah, you see Sissy here, come out here from time to time and get into engagement politically, who's going to do what and what have you. But now with all that, it's very smart. All underneath, he's running. Look how young he is. And he's running the white people educational system, mathematical director. So he tell the white people, the other number you put here not correct. They say, where you come from? He said, I come from lower country, but I'm telling you the number you put here not correct. You want me to show you? He showed them. 2 or 3 times, say, the other lover man, yeah, you're not taking. That's how you do it. No insult. But if you know that you know your stuff, then nobody can take it away from you. God has given you. God has blessed you. And we'll use this platform here to engage many of them, many of the young people. And don't get me wrong now, because sometimes we'll bring some people out here that will blow smoke. I have no control over that. But we'll do our best to find the best. So at least many of you that are still struggling, just coming from Liberia or in school, working 2 jobs, and you're wondering why, you're at the point, should I continue? Say yes, continue. Because there's just light at the end of the tunnel. You're not going to stay poor like this forever. All you need to do is build a foundation. Eventually, it will come up. God kept me. One thing I believe in, God will not give you anything you can't handle. Your godson, your goddaughter, your God person. So God will always be with you. God will always be with you. And with that, folks, Samson told LeBron Paparito, I want to thank all of you. Dr. Toto, thank you very much. there are comments. Thank you. As young as you are, you always recognize when something is good. I appreciate that. So I'll say good night to all of you. Tomorrow, the politician, the no kumbaya business. Tomorrow, the politi. What happened with Ambassador Bakai? The people stay on it. On that one tomorrow. I'm playing that one there. I got some juicy tea politics. That's what I do now. That's what I do. I speculate. Speculation is my job. Samson to LPR'S Public Radio. Folks, thank you very much. And Mr. So hopefully we'll be back next week. And then, of course, once the conservative gets here, you'll be ready. The liberal is not going to give up any inch to the conservative on the platform. No way. I'll be back. This is Samson to LPR'S Public Radio. Thank you very much for following again tonight. And I'll say good night to all of you. Good night, folks.
Amigo,